Mia was 29, earning $72,000 a year, and had finally saved up $40,000. Everyone around her, her parents, her coworkers, even her Instagram feed, was telling her the same thing. Stop throwing money away on rent and buy a house already. So she started looking. She found a $320,000 home she loved. Then she sat down and actually ran the numbers. What she found stopped her cold and completely changed her decision. Today, we're going to walk through exactly what Mia discovered and give you the tools to make this decision for yourself.
Here's the truth. Most people don't tell you. There is no universal right answer. The rent versus buy decision depends on your income, your local housing market, how long you plan to stay, and your overall financial picture. The idea that renting is throwing money away is one of the most persistent myths in personal finance. Shelter costs money, whether you rent or own. The real question is, which option builds your wealth more effectively given your specific situation? That's exactly what Mia was trying to figure out, and it's what we're going to unpack today.
When Mia saw the $320,000 price tag, she thought about her $40,000 in savings, but then she started listing the real costs. A 10% down payment, $32,000, closing costs, another $8,000 to $12,000. That's her entire savings, gone on day one, before a single mortgage payment. Then there's ongoing costs, property taxes averaging 1.1% nationally, homeowners insurance, and maintenance. Experts often cite a rule of thumb. Budget about 1% of your home's value per year for repairs. On a $320,000 home, that's $3,200 annually, or $267 a month, just for things breaking down.
Here's the chart that made Mia's jaw drop. Look at the comparison of her monthly costs renting versus buying that $320,000 home. Her rent was $1,650 a month, all in. The mortgage alone at current rates would run about $1,850, but add property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, and the true monthly cost of ownership climbs to roughly $2,500 or more. That's an $850 per month difference. Now, some of that goes toward equity. We'll talk about that. But it's nowhere near as simple as mortgage payment equals rent. The numbers tell a more complicated story.
This is where buyers push back, and they're not wrong to. When you pay a mortgage, part of that money builds equity, which is ownership stake in the home. That's real wealth. But here's what Mia learned. In the early years of a 30-year mortgage, most of your payment goes to interest, not equity. On her $288,000 loan, in month one, about $1,340 of the $1,850 payment is pure interest. Only $510 actually reduces the loan balance. And while homes have historically appreciated, that's not guaranteed, and it varies enormously depending on where you live. The housing market is local, not national.
Let's look at the historical data. This chart shows median U.S. home sale prices over roughly the past 2 decades, pulled from Federal Reserve data. The long-term trend is upward. Home values have generally increased over time. But look at 2007 and 2008. Prices fell sharply during the housing crisis, and it took years to recover. This is why financial experts caution against buying a home you can only afford to sell in 2 or 3 years. If you're planning to stay put for at least 5 to 7 years, the data historically favors buying. If you're not, renting may be the smarter financial move.
Here's a powerful concept Mia came across from financial planner and educator Ben Felix. It's called the 5% rule. The idea is simple. Take the home's purchase price and multiply it by 5%. That's roughly what it costs you annually to own that home in unrecoverable costs, property taxes, maintenance, and the opportunity cost of your down payment. Divide that by 12, and you get a monthly break-even number. If you can rent a comparable home for less than that amount, renting may be the better financial choice. For Mia's $320,000 home, 5% times $320,000 equals $16,000 per year, or about $1,333 a month. Her rent was $1,650. Close, but buying still carried higher total costs.
Now, buying a home isn't the wrong move. For millions of Americans, it's the right one. Here's when the math tends to favor buying. First, time horizon. If you plan to stay in the home at least 5 to 7 years,
You give appreciation and equity time to work in your favor. Second, financial stability. You should have your emergency fund intact after closing. Don't drain every dollar on the down payment. Third, manageable debt. Most lenders and financial advisors suggest keeping your total debt-to-income ratio below 36%. And finally, check your local market. In some cities, buying is significantly cheaper than renting when you run the full comparison. Every market is different.
Mia realized something else. Renting wasn't just the default, it was actually giving her advantages she hadn't appreciated. Flexibility. She worked in tech, a field where the best opportunities often mean relocating. Owning a home would have made that harder. Renters also avoid surprise repair bills. When the water heater dies at 11 p.m., that's the landlord's problem. And here's the angle most people miss. That $40,000 Mia didn't spend on a down payment, she invested it. Historically, a diversified portfolio invested in broad market index funds has returned around 7 to 10% annually over long periods. That capital doesn't have to sit locked in a house.
Let's put a number on the opportunity cost. If Mia had put that $40,000 down payment into a diversified index fund and left it alone for 20 years, assuming a historical average annual return of around 7% after inflation, that investment could grow to approximately $155,000. If she also invested the monthly savings from renting versus owning, roughly $850 a month, that adds another $156,000 over the same 20 years. That's over $312,000 in potential wealth that wouldn't exist if the money were tied up in a home. Now, a home could also appreciate. This is about understanding the full picture, not declaring a winner. All investments carry risk, and past performance doesn't guarantee future results.
So what did Mia decide? She kept renting, for now. Not because buying was wrong, but because the math told her it wasn't the right time for her specific situation. She took that $40,000 and put $30,000 into a diversified index fund and kept $10,000 as her emergency fund. She's also investing the monthly savings. In 2 years, she'll revisit the decision. The goal of today's video isn't to talk you out of buying a home. It's to make sure you go in with clear eyes and real numbers. Run your own comparison, know your local market, and make the decision that serves your long-term wealth, not just the one that feels like what you're supposed to do. This is for educational purposes only. Always consult a licensed financial advisor for your specific situation.
Everything in this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Real estate and investment decisions depend on your personal situation. Please consult a licensed financial advisor or real estate professional before making